Now, the Kremlin says the status of the Wagner mercenary group needs to be reviewed. This comes a day after President Vladimir Putin said the group has no legal basis to operate in Russia. Last month's short-lived rebellion against the military leadership by the mercenary was the most serious challenge to Putin's 23-year rule. The fate of the Wagner group and its chief, Yevgeny Prigozhin, have been a mystery since the mutiny. For more on this, let's cross over to Yulia Shapovalova, who's in Moscow for us. Another twist in the story about the Wagner group there. Yulia, what is President Putin saying?
Indeed, Vladimir Putin has given journalists some more details about the Wagner Group rebellion that took place in Russia at the end of June. Putin has finally admitted the Wagner Group does not exist. And that sounds quite sensational, believe it or not, as there is no law on private military organizations in Russia. So legally, it does not exist. The question is that if such a legal entity does not exist, to whom then the state has allocated more than $1 billion in funding over the past year. So according to Putin, the issue has to be addressed in terms of legalization, and that question should be discussed in the State Duma, which is Russia's lower house of parliament, and in the government as well. So according to Putin, ordinary Wagner fighters fought with dignity in Ukraine and in other countries. The fact that they were involved in the rebellion led by Yevgeny Prigozhin is quite regrettable, and those things are obvious, quite obvious for the Russian society. That's according to Vladimir Putin. Also, there is an option for Wagner to be used in combat operations in the future, not necessarily in Ukraine, but probably in some other countries. And because Putin offered the Wagner commanders several employment options. But according to Putin, Yevgeny Prigozhin, who was sitting in front of him at that meeting, said that his guys would not agree with that particular offer.
Yulia, it must be very confusing for the state media to try and explain this to the public at large, because it seems it's yet another opportunity for the Kremlin sort of to rewrite the narrative of what's been going on these past few weeks.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And we really have to wait and see what they're going to say. But many things indicate some global problems in the army and in the society, because and those problems in the army, of course, affect the Wagner Group too, as their supply and funding were provided through the Ministry of Defense. And just yesterday, we heard about global problems in the army from Major General Ivan Popov, who allegedly had been dismissed for criticizing the army leadership. Mr. Putin's words also indicate some uncertainty in the top ranks of Russia, brought by the rebellion. And what we see now looks like the state wants to retain the Wagner Group because Putin has many tasks for them to fulfill. But it seems like they want to remove Prigozhin from the group's management. So the rebellion became a catalyst, so to speak, for many processes in the army and in Russia, in the society. And the army can become a source of political instability in the country, as well as for Vladimir Putin.
Yulia Shapovalova, thank you for joining us from Moscow.